Hey guys, it's Wahima, but just call me Wah. Melanated! Welcome back to my review / recap of 90 Day Fiancé. This is Happily Ever After, Season 3, Episode 2. So to start this off, first of all, let me say, those of you who love watching my videos, please go on ahead and thumbs up the video. I know you guys haven't been here in a while because you only come to the channel to watch 90 Day Fiancé, but it really does help with the algorithms and the analytics if you thumbs up the video, so I would appreciate a little likey, you know what I'm saying? Doesn't hurt nobody. Let's jump right into Azan and Nicole. So last episode we left off where she was waiting to hear back from Azan about the K1 visa interview. He finally came through, he finally called her, they started talking, and then it cut off and she got frustrated again. Anyways, she called him back, they're reconnected. P.S. His name in her phone is My World, and I'm just like, Nicole, I just feel like I could not be Robily. I could not be Robily. I wouldn't be able to deal with that. My World? Really? Girl, you have nothing else going for you than some little spindly dude in Morocco that you beat up on? Like, nah, bruh. Anywho, so she gets word from him that they required some extra stuff. He is required to have another friend, another witness sign off and say that these two are in love, and that's gonna cost more. And Robily is like, oh, it's gonna cost more? Ching ching. Like, Robily is very concerned with the fact that Nicole has spent a lot of money and a lot of other people's money on Azan. And so if he does not get his K1 visa, then that money is gone down the tube and they have to start all over again. I mean, Robily has raised an absolute fool. What? What is it? What happened? I don't know. I see like all of these people, they're sitting there and they're saying they have to bring a new paper. I feel so bad talking mess about Nicole because I think she's actually simple, and I think that she's actually a person with very low self-esteem. And she ends up getting mad at her mother at the end of this when Azan keeps on telling her that she needs a new paper, she needs something else, and probably more money needs to be sent to get this witness statement, blah, 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 blah. You know, as we know, Nicole is supporting Azan. He had a job, he lost it because of her, and now he can't find a job, and so she's supporting him, and it's just so dumb. Like I said, Robily must be so ashamed that she raised the dummy. It just is really frustrating, and I think Robily is just waiting to hear what ends up happening. So she tries to have the conversation with Nicole about it. Nicole is not hearing it. Nicole's like, you just want to think of the negative. I want to think of the positive. You don't know. He's not scamming me. I don't like when you say that. And Robily's like, I'm just thinking about all the things. Well, I know he's not scamming me. And the thing is though, like, I don't necessarily know if it's a straight up scam, but like, he's definitely using her. And word on the street, you know, la palabra en la calle is that he straight up has 2 other girls that he's dealing with, sending him money and shit. So like, maybe it is a scam, but right now, I don't have any evidence of it, so you know what I'm saying, I can only go by what TLC gives me. The US consulate emails Nicole and tells her that he didn't get it, and they don't tell her why. She's very upset. Her mom comes over. Robily is low-key, like, relieved, because there's this moment of, like, her face says one thing and her voice says something else. So her face is like in like a happy like shock, and her voice is like, oh no. So it's like, I don't know how she did it. It's like a mom trick because I can't do it. It was like, oh no, that's so sad. That's the saddest thing ever. You know, so she feels bad for her girl. She feels bad for Nicole. I don't feel bad for Nicole. I'm like, thank God, even though there's a lot of money and time wasted in this. But the next hurdle is worrying about what Nicole is gonna do. Is she gonna move to Morocco? I mean, she can't move to Morocco. There's no way this woman is gonna move to Morocco and take on a Muslim lifestyle. Like, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. So next we move on to David and Annie. Okay. So let me give you the nuts and bolts of this. So TLC has presented us with a situation in which Jacob, David's son, needs to move into the firehouse with David and Annie. They've only been there for 2 weeks. They're still in like their honeymoon type phase. And David doesn't talk to Annie about it. He just, the day of, tells Annie Jacob is gonna move in. He doesn't have a place to stay. Meanwhile, they're in Louisville, Kentucky. Ashley lives in Louisville, Kentucky, and so does the other sister that refuses to be a part of the show, right? So it's not like Jacob doesn't have nowhere to go. So David is saying that it'd be nice to have Jacob there. Jacob is needing to stay with them because his mother is moving to Texas. She got married and now she's up and moved to Texas, and now Jacob has no place to live. TLC is making it seem like it all happened in one day. You know, that it wasn't something that was planned. It wasn't a conversation that had, like, all of a sudden mom just told Jacob, hey, I'm moving next week. You gotta find a place to live by. So Jacob moves in. Annie gives Jacob side eye when he gets there. She is not very welcoming or open to him. I'm not sure why. And later it's explained, a short second later after Jacob goes into the room, it's explained that it's because David didn't ask Annie at all. He just told her in that moment, that day, that Jacob was moving in, and she's like, what? Your kids don't even like me. Like, this is a really uncomfortable situation. It still doesn't explain why she's like serving a little bit of attitude to Jacob, because from our point of view, Ashley's the only person who's been negative towards her, not Jacob. But, you know, it is what it is. After they explained that, I was like, you know what? I don't know how I would react. Annie reacted the way she reacted. She's only 24, 25 years old. Like, she didn't have a good reaction. It was tacky. It was in poor taste. But it is what it is, and who knows what the future will hold. Now, that is the story that TLC is telling us. The real story is that they needed to add some drama to David and Annie's storyline. While the mother, Jacob's mother, did leave Kentucky, she didn't leave Kentucky for good. She like went to either find a home in Texas to like scout homes, or she's on her honeymoon in Texas. I don't remember which one it is, but she hasn't abandoned her son in Louisville, Kentucky. She has not, you know, and it's also not like he's homeless, because again, he has other places to stay. And this is before Jacob has been shot in the face. So we all know that happened, right? We all got the tea on that. And when that becomes more prevalent in the story, I'll explain that to you. But as like somebody who just got the news from Starcasm.net, we do know that Jacob had an accident with a handgun. There's that awkward moment, and David then apologizes to Annie, and Annie says that while the son is there, you know, she won't have sex with David. And David's like, oh, we can still have sex. And she's just like, no, I like to be loud. I like to do my thing in the house. And you know, your butt is so big and it's making all this noise like this. And I want to be like, ah, ah, ah. And it's just like, all of this is happening. And I swear to God, Jacob is right in the other room, setting his room up. He's like, you know, loading in his TV and doing all these things. So I'm just kind of like, what is happening? And apparently they have a lot of sex, and Annie must enjoy it. I mean, good for her, you know? And this whole thing too made me think, like, is she spanking David? Is David into being spanked or pegged? That is great. David mentions that he is going to charge Jacob $200 a month in rent to stay there. He tells Annie that Jacob is only going to be there about 4 or 5 nights out of the week, and during the weekend and other times, you know, he's going to be off with his friends. So, like, you know, it is what it is, and she just has to deal with it. A lot of people felt some kind of way about Annie not being open and warm and receptive to Jacob as they think she should be, but like, okay, we don't know what's gonna happen. Annie says that Jacob doesn't talk to her, so she's not gonna put the effort out anymore. We don't know what all has happened, what has transpired, what TLC hasn't caught on camera. So I'm not here to judge Annie. As you guys know, I'm not here to judge Annie. David ends up apologizing to Annie during the confessional, saying that he's sorry that he didn't let her know that it's his fault. And she's like, yeah, everything is your fault. It's all your fault, and this is BS. You know, she's upset. So, like, even though the storyline is fictitious, Annie's playing into it, and I gotta give her props for that. You know, they're trying to make their money, and it is what it is. Until she gets her green card. Oh, speaking of that, the green card. David says that he has put in for her green card, and part of me does not believe that he's done that. Part of me feels like he wants Annie to stay underneath his wing, and as long as she doesn't have her green card, then she won't really be able to get her job and move out, because, you know, once Annie feels empowered, she's going to be outie clam chowdy. I know that for a 100% fact. And I think David just wants someone to take care of him in his old age, and he's also having a lot of sex, you know what I'm saying? I think that he doesn't want that for her. Now, I don't know. I'm just guessing, just from what I know about David. So the next scene we have with David and Annie is Annie's in the kitchen washing the dishes. David is sitting at the table cutting coupons, telling her all the great things she can do with coupons. She doesn't know what they are. And he explains it to her and says, oh, look, you know, you can get salmon, you know, this is X amount of whatever. And she's like, I don't eat salmon in a can. Hey, neither do I, Annie girl. Neither do I. I didn't even know it came canned. Like tuna? girl, no. And so they're talking about that, and then I'm not sure what ended up happening, but I think she got upset with him just a little bit, and then she went into the room to talk to her mother. There's a lot of drama going on because David still doesn't have a job, and there's no money, so she gets on the phone to like have a cathartic moment with her mother, and she says that she finally just tells her mother everything. She tells her mother that David doesn't have a job, that, you know, he's not going to be able to pay them anytime soon. She lets the camera know, and she lets us know that David still owes her family 15,000 baht. Or is it $15,000? Because she kept on saying $15,000, and I know that he owed 500,000 baht. So I'm not sure like if it's dollars or baht or what's going on, but he owes the family money for the dowry. A lot of people are judging that cultural thing and saying like, oh, he basically paid for her. But you know, in other cultures, they do other things. Like they don't necessarily marry for love. They marry for family and convenience. And so I'm not here to judge why people get married or what they do in their marriage. Not at all. But she's talking to her mother and saying that, you know, things are hard there because she doesn't have anyone. She's by herself in the firehouse all day. His family is not cool with her. She starts talking about Ashley. She says that Ashley is 2 pennies shy of $1. I mean, just saying all of these things about Ashley that I was like, ooh, cringeworthy. She made mention of the fact that Ashley had her first child at 16, and that she's had 3 different husbands, and that she breeds like a rabbit, and all these things. And like, I was actually watching Auntie's live video today, and a lot of people were like very mad at Annie and saying that, you know, she was talking mess and she was da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, she was talking to her mother. And when you're talking to your mother or your best friend or somebody from your hometown about a girl that doesn't like you, what are you gonna say? All of those things. Like, this bitch ain't, she got 3 baby mamas, she had her first kid at 16, she's crazy, blah blah blah. So for anyone to sit back and act like Annie just isn't doing what all people do when they're talking about a bitch that don't like them, y'all can take several seats and I will not have that on my channel. I mean, yes, Annie was talking mess. Like, you haven't done that. You haven't done that? Did she sit in the confessional and say that? No, she was talking to her mother, and I don't care what anyone has to say about, oh, well, she knew the cameras were there. Why can't she say those things? Like, you wouldn't have said those things. I'm on social media. I hear people talking ish about people all the time. And don't get me wrong, Ashley had said some pretty mean things about Annie too, about her being a prostitute. She was rude to Annie when Annie first got there. So from Annie's point of view, Ashley is somebody who doesn't like her. And all she's ever tried to do is get Ashley to like her, and she doesn't understand why Ashley is upset. Now, I think something culturally is happening why Annie doesn't understand why Ashley's upset, or maybe she doesn't understand the full 365 degrees of it, or maybe she's just blinded because she's like 25 years old and married this old American and just wants everything to be okay. But like, had it been me and I was Annie, like maybe at 25 I wouldn't have understand exactly what Ashley's problem is, but as an adult, I 100% get why Ashley's upset. So like, both of these ladies can have their feelings and say what they want to say about each other, and it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't hold it against Annie. I don't hold anything against Ashley. They both have been manipulated and treated poorly by one person, David. Period, point blank. So next we move on to Pedro and Chantal. So some of you guys are feeling really strong about disliking Pedro's family. That's fine if you want to feel that way. I mean, it does seem like the family is a little bit like extra with Pedro owes us. However, we don't know what they're talking about. Maybe the mother bought Pedro's ticket to the US. Maybe the mother sacrificed a lot for Pedro. Like, we don't know. I'm still staunchly on the side of Pedro's family, and I really do think that Chantal's family messed up. I think Chantal messed up by not telling her family to begin with, lying to them, and I think that their reaction of just assuming off the bat that Pedro was using her is them not trusting their daughter, but also them being a little imperialistic American, like obviously he must be using her. We come up on the episode and Chantal is having lunch with her brother River, and River is saying that he thinks that Pedro has stopped her from talking to the family, and that Pedro, you know, is being shady in the background. And I don't think so. I think that Chantal has made a choice. She's made a choice to stick by her husband, and she probably doesn't want to go around her family unless she has her husband with her, which is weird because I don't understand why Chantal just can't go see her family without Pedro, personally. I mean, unless I hear something else that he's stopping her, but it doesn't seem like Pedro would be that type because he's very strong about family. River gets on my damn nerves, and I want to see Pedro kick it out of him. Because River, to me, is like, it just instigating a situation, like, as far as, until there's other evidence that Pedro has done some other stuff, like, there's no reason for River to be hype. River's just being a little brother who wants to protect his sister, and I feel that. The fact that they didn't get out of the car at the campo and say, like, hola to la abuela or anything is just so rude. They're a Southern family, and they just needed to be bigger and better. Regardless of whatever they thought that Pedro's family was doing to them. They were being petty, period, point blank. Nothing else to be said about it. They think they're better than Pedro's family. There's nothing that anyone can say that convinced me otherwise, period. There's nothing that you can say. You get out of the car and say hello. Like, I just don't know how else to say it, that you get out of the car and say hello. They completely 100% disrespected. And even when Pedro tried to have a one-on-one or a man-to-man with River and Thomas, and that went wrong. Also, some of you guys are talking about the fact that Pedro has a whole gaming system. You don't know if Pedro makes money off of being a gamer. So before anyone starts to say that he's spending all of his money buying video game equipment, for those of you who aren't aware that gaming is actually a really big industry and people actually make money if they're good at gaming. Now, I'm not saying that Pedro is some kind of gamer who makes a lot of money, but what I am saying is that just because you see a guy have gaming console and like video games doesn't mean that you need to automatically judge him. I'm not saying that he is. I'm saying you don't know that. Like, we don't know their financial situation, right? This is their third time being on 90 Day Fiancé. You know, they're not as broke down as we are led to believe. I heard somewhere that each of the couples makes about $1,000 an episode. So like they've got some federales sitting down somewhere. Just remember that TLC does juice up storylines. So Chantal might be being a little bit dramatic about how much money Pedro actually sends to the family. Now, that TV was dumb, right? He could have just sent them money and that would be it. Like, but it also could have been set up by the producers. So before you go in talking about how dumb he is trying to send a TV, like, just think about the fact that it could have been set up, right? So River ends up telling Chantal that the mother has planned this mountain getaway to this cabin and it's supposed to be really fun, and she wants the entire family to come to make up for what happened in the Dominican Republic. As far as I know, her family has never officially apologized to Pedro. They have never said, we are sorry that we disrespected your family. We're really sorry that we didn't get it out of the car. It was really petty and silly of us, and we apologize. Pedro has the right to feel how he feels. He hasn't really been messing with the family that much. He's kept his distance and done what he's wanted to do. And I feel him on that. So Chantal says, look, if we're gonna do this, I'm gonna need you, River, to not bring up what happened in the Dominican Republic. Leave Pedro alone. I'm already gonna have a hard time having him there, and I just want it to be a good time, and I want to mend these fences. And so River's like, well, I can't guarantee that. I'm not just gonna sit there and pretend. It's just like, again, blinders on. They didn't do anything wrong. Pedro's family were the worst hosts in the world and made them feel uncomfortable and unwelcomed, blah, blah, blah. It does not matter. Someone needs to be the bigger people in this. And I think that the family who already looks down on the other family need to be the ones to be the bigger people, or else they're gonna continue to look like dumb Americans. So later on, Chantal goes to the gym. She tells Pedro that he's gonna come. She puts her foot down. He says he's gonna go, but he really doesn't want to go, yo. He does not want to go. And personally, I felt like she shouldn't have made him go. And I think at the end of this episode, she realizes she shouldn't have made him go. So it's the day of, the family's there, they're honking. Pedro doesn't want to come downstairs. She's trying to ask him if she should bring some fuzzy Uggs, and he's just like, girl, I don't care. I don't want to go to this. So he's upstairs. She comes downstairs and then tells her family that he doesn't want to go, like a bumbleclot, and then the family is now aware that he has an attitude, and so that already has that kind of tension. And she says, oh, don't tell him I told you that. I'm like, why'd you even say anything to begin with? Like, you didn't even have to stir up that drama. You could have just said, oh, he's using the bathroom, he's gonna bring down the bags. So Pedro comes downstairs with the bags and he says hello, he shakes hands, he's cordial, and I think he's doing more than they would have done. And he gets in the car and he puts in his headphones. He is acting like a petulant teenager. True. That's 100% true, but he really doesn't want to be there, and he's just doing this for Chantal. But then Chantal's mother again tries to like act like he's one of her kids and be like, well, I'm gonna make him come sit on the front because he doesn't know how to behave. And I'm just like, why not just leave Pedro alone? It's like, If they see someone being petty, they have to be more petty. If they see someone being dumb, they have to be more dumb. I don't understand why. Like, why is this family so petty? They get to the cabin. It's beautiful. I mean, it is beautiful. I hope it's beautiful. Hopefully it's paid for by TLC. Like, I think that would make me appreciate the mom so much more if she had somehow figured out a way to get TLC to pay for that. So they get in and Pedro scopes out the scene. Thomas, who is Chantal's father, like has this weird grin on his face. Like, I don't know if he's nervous or he really does think he's in the right. And so he's just trying to act above it all. He's like, oh, you seem uptight. And then River jumps in and is like, you know, we're trying to mend fences here. We're trying to make things better. We're trying to let go of what happened in the Dominican Republic. And Pedro's like, you guys don't remember what happened in the Dominican Republic? How disrespectful you were to my family? Like, you wouldn't even get out of the car and say hello to my grandmother who made a whole meal for you? Like, Pedro's like, look, I don't want to be here. I'm going to stay in the bottom area. You guys can stay wherever. I'm going to separate myself. Like, I'm uncomfortable. I'm here for Chantal. We don't have to interact. Like, it's done. And they're like, okay. Oh, so you don't want to talk? Okay. I'm just like, why is that such a problem? Why is it a problem that he doesn't want to interact? Chantal drug him there, and he's there. They tried to confront him. He was just straight up with them, told them how he was feeling, and they're offended or upset about it. Like, he didn't disrespect them. He's just like, look, I'm going to stay over here because I can't forget what happened in the Dominican Republic the way you guys are pretending like it didn't happen. I'm so over River. I am so over him trying to antagonize and start shit because he thinks he's right. He's not right. The mom's not right. None of them are right. The only person who's halfway right, because she hasn't actually said anything, is Winter. I literally can't talk about this family anymore because I'm getting hot and upset. So the next couple we see are George and Anfisa.